Okay guys, so what, day 2, day 3 of Enduro. I'm still at St. Regis Hotel, didn't join the guys. Here we are for the launch of the Volvo C40 full EV, and yeah, getting on board now to bring the car out for a drive. So if you watched my earlier video of the XC40 EV, this is very familiar surroundings. Okay, I'll go on a more detailed walk around of the car later on now. Okay, but just like the XC40 earlier, you just put this to drive and the car is started. All right, so we are exiting the St. Regis Hotel, all right, at the rear entrance facing the National Museum. So I've been told that we are only having a 20-minute test drive, very brief session, so won't be able to tell you much beyond very fleeting impressions. But immediate take up is that the ride is good, pleasant, and the electric motor, the throttle response is quite easy to modulate. So are the brakes, which is consistent. It feels, right now it feels almost like what we experienced earlier with the XC40 electric. So now I'm going through some rough patches of road. Suspension demonstrates admirable pliancy in absorbing the ruts on the ground. So in front there, I'm just going to hit a speed bump. Wait for the cars to clear. Alright, nice. So we are circling back around to the front of to the front road of St. Regis. Alright, going over another speed bump. Yep, that sense of solidness is there, makes this very, very pleasant to go over unpleasant terrain. Alright, so we are going on to Lebuh Mahameru. The traffic is going to be a bit heavy, and this is where the C40's 600 over Newton meters of torque comes in very handy to offer that burst of acceleration that allows you to quickly merge with fast-moving traffic, and also to exploit all the fleeting gaps. So this test drive right now, right, this is not a situation, it's not a scenario that explores the dynamic limits of the car, but rather we are experiencing the car right now as is intended in its day-to-day usage. So here along Lebuh Mahameru, this is where you typically use a car like the C40, right? Very fast-moving, hectic traffic, and at the same time, you know, you've got a lot of surface imperfections on the road, and thus far all of these scenarios are dealt with quite admirably and pleasantly by the C40 here. So thus far what we have felt here is that the C40 gives off the impression that it is a very pleasant, a very capable day-to-day companion of your journey. So very moderate speeds right now. We have driven the car thus far, you know, talking about speeds of 50 kilometers per hour, 60, 70, 80 at best. And you know, small things like the response of the throttle pedal. Now this car, don't forget, has 600 Newton meters at its disposal, but yet the initial travel of the accelerator pedal is calibrated well enough that, you know, you don't you don't launch the car in a lurch every time you touch the pedal. All right, so the calibration of the car's response is very sensible, it's very manageable, so it does not feel overwhelming to drive. And the brakes now, of course, with any EV or plug-in hybrid, there is always that transition between regenerative braking at the start of your pedal travel, and then later on only do the disc brakes take over the stopping function. And early PHEVs tend to have that abrupt feel when they transition from regen braking to frictional braking. Even the XC40 PHEV, as we observed in an earlier video, had that problem. But in the XC40 electric, as well as here the C40, no such thing. The brake response, as you step on the brake, on the pedal, it feels appropriately linear. And now we are picking up some speed with some directional changes. The car is stable on the turn, well, thanks largely because the battery is mounted low on the floor, so you've got an advantage in terms of the low center of gravity. But you can see that as the convoy picked up speed, and as we put in a bit more pressure on the throttle, acceleration is effortless. But you do have to take note one thing, guys. So the center of gravity of this car is low, so that benefits its handling. All right, but make also no mistake that this, because batteries are heavy, and this is a properly heavy vehicle, and if you carry too much speed into the bend and you need to brake very, very abruptly, that is when you still feel the weight of the car. Because like when you're taking high speed, you know, switching bends, the car feels agile, the car feels light, it feels fleet-footed. But when you go into a sharp corner and when you need to reduce speed substantially, that's when you feel the weight of the car. And I just love how the suspension casually soaks up all the undulations and imperfections of the surface. It makes the ride, you know, so comfortable, and you know, it builds on the quiet atmosphere, right, that is had because there's no combustion engine ticking all up front. It's just an electric motor, so what you have here is just steady, comfortable, silence progress. See, like right now I'm taking this bend. The car is very, very stable. All right, it's very stable. There's barely any body roll because all the weight, right, most of the weight is right on the floor of the car. All right. Okay, so coming out of the toll. Oh my god! I just felt a small hint of torque still. Now this is something I suspect EV owners will not get tired of. The way these cars just leap off the line, you know. It's of course not as crazy fast as the Porsche Taycan that I once famously experienced, but it is still faster than any and practically any internal combustion engine car that you can get your hands on today. Not the fastest EV that I've tested, but faster than most fast cars in the market, I can assure you. Okay, so now we've come into a traffic jam. We're going to let the car do the driving itself, and Volvo's, well, autonomous driving system, it's got a good track record, so no reason I can't trust it. But there is a DNB. Oh, it detected, not bad, not bad. So I was just trying whether the car would stop for another a TNB truck that cut in front of me, and the car did. So good job. All right. So now the C40 here. Okay, one very interesting thing that I saw with this car is the way Volvo Car Malaysia priced it. You see, relative to the XC40 EV, which is priced at 278,000 ringgit, the C40 here, which is basically the same, a car sitting on the same platform, has the same platform, same powertrain, just coupe-ish styling. Think of it as the X3 versus the X4 or X5 versus the X6, right? And usually, you know, premium cars, right, when they take that same body and put a coupe style konon here, they would charge easily a 20 to 30% you know, markup in pricing. But the difference between the XC40 EV and the C40 here is just 10,000 ringgit. This guy is yours for 288,000 ringgit, and on top of that, Volvo is throwing in 5-year warranty, 5-year maintenance, 8-year warranty on the battery. Now the 5-year maintenance actually doesn't, it's actually not worth that much lah, because do bear in mind that servicing costs for an EV is actually much less than a combustion vehicle. So if a 5-year service package, say for an XC40 T5, that would cost a lot of money. But this one here in the C40 here, because it's full EV, you don't have things like, you know, engine oil change lah, oil filter change lah, timing chain lah, all that. Your main wear and tear items are your brakes and your suspension. The cost of maintaining these cars are actually substantially less. Alright, so that's why for them it's quite easy for them to bundle in the 5-year free service. But still, coming back to what I said, the price gap that Volvo has put in on this versus the XC40 is so small that you know, unless you really must have that boxy upright you know, form factor of the XC40 SUV, there's no reason why you would not buy this instead, because the C40 here is, you know, your same car, you just pay 10,000 ringgit more, which is less than 5%, by the way. 10,000 ringgit more for a substantially more stylish and more upmarket looking car, right? So what I can tell you is this, if you the long and short here is that the C40 here, as far as I can tell, within the context of today's test drive, it drives exactly like the XC40 EV, which is not a bad thing, because the XC40 EV drives well. The only weakling of this family of cars really is the XC40 plug-in hybrid, but that is not in the equation here today. Here in the XC40 EV or the C40 here drives fantastic, and you know, this one looks so much more stylish, more dynamic, looks and feels more upmarket, and for just 10,000 ringgit more, it's a no-brainer. In fact, I think Volvo is expecting, because the XC40's waiting list is so long, they are expecting actually for some of the people who already have booked the XC40 to convert their bookings to this guy, right? Because, you know, it is basically, there's next to no difference in price. It's like an extra 2 or 3 months of installment. That's it, right? Okay guys, so now we are back here at the St. Regis. Let me show you around the car. Now here, okay, is the exterior of the C40. One glimpse and you can tell very quickly, you can quickly see the relationship between this and the XC40. Same size, it's the same platform underneath, right? And but of course, compared to the XC40, this guy here has this coupe-like roofline versus the more straight upright XC40. But what I have to commend Volvo also is that they took the effort to differentiate the front. So the headlights, okay, narrow towards the middle. It narrows toward the middle, but you still have the distinctive tall hammer illumination signature. And of course, with the C40 here, you don't need a grille. This is a piece of plastic, and this is what happens when you use a platform that was originally designed for internal combustion engine and you adapt it for electric vehicle use. All right, you will still have these design cues that were originally meant for combustion engines that are brought here. But nevertheless, underneath, if you notice, there is still a radiator inside there. You know, even though it does not have an engine, there's still plenty of things to cool in an EV. All right, the motors need cooling, the battery pack needs cooling. Okay, so that's still being taken care of. Now the tires, what we have here, it's a very simple, straightforward looking 10-spoke alloys, and here you have two 550 R19s up front, and at the back you have two 45 R19s. So take note, the tires, the width is staggered size. The rear wider than the front. Now at the back is where things get a lot more interesting compared to the XC40. So you still see that signature, you know, lighting shape that has been with Volvo, that you see in the XC40, but here they broke it into 4 different elements. Okay, and I like this structure here. Okay, that gives the C40's rear a more edgy appearance. So there are 2 spoilers up front here and another one here to aid in aerodynamics. So is the one more thing is that the rear end of the C40 here, the C40 overall is a more aerodynamic shape compared to the XC40, and that translates to improved performance. So compared to the XC40 electric, right, the C40 is faster, 0 to 100 kilometers, and also has a slightly longer cruising range, 450 kilometers. Okay, so let's open the boot. So with the C40, they say that there's a compromise in the boot space, but honestly, if there's a compromise, I don't see a very big compromise. This looks pretty much like the same boot as the XC40. Okay, now so let's come to the back. So here you have it. This is the door card, and up here a very tiny pocket. Right here you can see the inside. Now it's a bit dark in here. Now one big upgrade versus the XC40, you get a panoramic glass roof above. I'm 170 centimeters tall, so I still got 3 fingers of headroom above me. Okay, and the seats are basically the same items as you get in the XC40. Okay, means that the bench is a bit short, feels a bit upright too, but doesn't feel significantly compromised in terms of interior space. Now we come to the front. Same dashboard architecture as the XC40 that I showed earlier, so nothing new to show here except this little piece of art. Okay, now this pattern here, this is not some randomly generated pattern, guys. This is an actual topographic map, okay, of the mountain range in the Northern Hemisphere in Sweden, and you can feel the texture of the surface. It's an actual topographic map, okay, here. And how on earth did they light it like this? It is so nice and classy. This is properly nice. But the rest of the cabin, this is the same as the XC40 that we tried earlier, and of course, as I showed earlier in the video, to start the car, all you have to do is just put it in gear. All right, in this case, reverse or drive, and you know the car is ready to move. All right, so down there, the pedals, brake, accelerator is top mounted. All right, and I shall pop the bonnet. Okay, just like the XC40, open this. There's this small compartment here for you to put your items, and as I mentioned in my XC40 review, even though you no longer have an engine, but space still needs to be made for the electric motor, which is obviously more compact than your combustion engine. You still need to have your brake master cylinder and servo pump here. All right, you still need to have room for your steering equipment. Okay, but otherwise you have a free up a little bit of space there for cargo. All right, so there you have it, guys. This is the Volvo C40 Recharge Pure Electric. All right, and I think Volvo Car Malaysia, they are on to a winner with this car. All right, it has all the things that we like about the XC40 EV. Drives well, all right, but packaged in offered in a more stylish package at just a very, very reasonable, I would say a steal, a very minor price differential. Okay, so Volvo is expecting a number of XC40 buyers who placed their booking but waiting for their cars to convert their booking into this. I highly encourage it if you are considering that. And yeah, overall, fantastic car. This is, if you are interested in going the EV route, this is as good a car to consider.